Thanks for joining us for our online service this year. I want to welcome you into my home, and I'll just give you a little disclaimer at the beginning. It's not normally this clean, but since we're welcoming in the internet into our house, we thought we should clean up a little bit. So this is our home. But I just want to say thank you for joining us. If you were here for our Christmas service last week, thanks for joining us and following up with us. If you're a guest, we're really glad you decided to join us again. If you're just checking out the internet, checking out our website, and you're on this video, hopefully this will give you a good preview of kind of what our church is about and kind of how our service would look, not inside my house, but at our church. If you're a regular, we're glad you're here with us, and we hope for all of you that you had a Merry Christmas and a great New Year ahead. We hope that this wrapping up 2019, going into 2020 is a good time for you to kind of think back on the last year, but also look ahead to the new year and what hopes and dreams might come from this new year. We want to let you know a little bit about our time together. Basically, this little short service is going to be just about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and we're going to kind of just have a little short time of a song led by Claudette, who's on helping with our worship team and our singing team, and she'll sing a song. It's going to be kind of a karaoke because we're going to have the lyrics on the screen for you. If you don't know the song, we'd love for you just to join along with that. And then after that, I'll share a short message with you, just a little short message. It won't be very long, and then we'll kind of wrap up with some action items, some things that are just maybe helpful for any of you. And so just want to let you know that the first thing about our church is that we want to help everybody take a next step to follow Jesus. That's our mission. That's the driving force behind everything we do as a church. And we want to help you take a next step as well. And so hopefully you'll see on this website or on our YouTube channel or on Facebook, however you're watching this, that you'll see some ways that you can connect and further engage with our church and help you to take a next step as a result of our time together. Whether you've walked away from faith or you've had a bad experience or maybe you're just new to faith, we really think that we can help you and we want to help you in your spiritual journey. So we're glad you're with us. We also want to let you know that before Claudette leads us in a song in just a second, I want to let you know that normally our kids and our preschool and elementary program happen every Sunday at 10:30. Obviously this Sunday we're having just the service on our online service, not on our campus. But starting January 5th, we're going to have our kids program resume at 10:30. However, this year it's actually going to be a little bit different. We're going to have a few little changes that we're trying to improve and strategize to make our program even better for our kids. And so we'll let you know a little bit more about those as they come. But January 5th, we'll resume our normal programming at 10:30. So before we continue on, if you need to pause this video to kind of get ready with your kids or with your family, feel free to do that. But basically, we're going to have some things for kids to do lower on this screen or on our website, online.nlnc.org. You can find some Bible app for kids, some activities, some things like that. So you're welcome to pause it if you'd like. Otherwise, we're going to have a song by Claudette and her team, and it'll lead us in just a moment.
All things bright, beautiful you are. All things wise, wonderful you are. In the darkest night, you brighten up the skies. A song will rise. We will sing a song of hope, sing along. God of heaven, come down, just to know that you are near is enough. God of heaven, come down, come down. All things new, we can start again. Creator God, calling us your friend. Sing praise, my soul, to the maker of the skies. A song will rise. We will sing a song of hope, sing along. God of heaven, come down, just to know that you are near is enough. God of heaven, come down, we will sing a song of hope, sing along. God of heaven, come down, just to know that you are near is enough. God of heaven, come down.
So I just want to share a quick message with you as we kind of start the new year. I just want to give you a quick heads up. My family is in the house while I'm recording this, so if you see any noises, just assume it's like your family and they're making noise, and hopefully nobody will have to be army crawling across the floor to come and grab a kid at any point. But I just want to share a little bit with you, kind of continuing on from our message from our Christmas service. If you were with us for our Christmas service, or if you weren't with us, basically we kind of talked about this idea that Jesus kind of was being for us what we needed, a savior, not necessarily what we wanted, which was probably more of a superhero. And I would suggest to you that this kind of comes from something that's within inside of all of us, that we all kind of want certain things, right? Christmas is sort of sometimes about that. It can kind of become about that. But in reality, if we look back to the first Christmas and Jesus coming for us to this earth, he really brought us something that we all needed and we couldn't fix or couldn't do on our own. And there's kind of this thing inside of us specifically, it's kind of been increased with our current culture, and we all want the option that is just easy, quick, and hopefully as a result, less painful in our lives. And while that's not necessarily a bad thing, and it's not necessarily an evil thing, the truth is that many times that kind of ease and that kind of quickness won't actually bring about the lasting change that many of us are hoping for in our lives, or really in the world in general. And really that kind of saying that if it seems too good to be true, it probably is kind of true with some of these things. That if we just think about the quick and the easy, it can actually not be that good. And if it seems too quick and too easy, it's not really that good, or it's not going to last. It's probably too good to be true. And by definition, as we kind of think about a superhero, by definition, a superhero is a benevolent, fictional character. And the thing is that we really believe that Jesus was an actual person. He wasn't fictional. We think he was an actual person. Most historians actually would agree that he was an actual person, which kind of leads us to an interesting question for our time together, and kind of our message for today is that would those around you describe you as more of a superhero who kind of swoops in at the right time to rescue someone financially, or to make a tough decision, or to help them make a tough decision, or to provide a meal for somebody? Or would your friends describe you as more of a friend through thick and thin, who has kind of helped teach you how to make better financial decisions, or has helped teach them how to, meet over coffee and talk about difficult things, or who regularly donates their time to other organizations? Would you say your friends would describe you as more of a superhero, or as more of a friend through thick and thin? And one of the reasons that this is kind of an important thing is that we think Jesus was an actual person, he's not fictional, and that we believe that God can actually kind of help us, and he can help us to live like him. And if he's not a real person, he's just some sort of superhero, then it just seems like it's unattainable, right? He has some sort of superpowers, he's able to do things that we can't, and it just seems like there's no reason to try to live like him. Now, I want to pause for a second and just say superheroes are not bad, and I'm not saying superheroes are bad. In fact, I would suggest to you that the whole idea of a superhero, including whatever your favorite superhero might be, actually sort of points us to the idea inside of all of us, we have a desire that we want there to be a savior. We want there to be somebody who can rescue us. And I would suggest to you that's Jesus, but regardless of that, we all sort of have that thing inside of us. And referring to Jesus as a superhero, in fact, in many ways it can be kind of helpful, but unfortunately, like any metaphor or comparison or illustration, eventually it kind of falls apart and it falls short at some point. And as a pastor, one of the ways I see this superhero Jesus idea kind of fall short is that basically in how the followers of superhero Jesus sometimes live. People with good intentions, sometimes even the best intentions, they have great intentions, try to be a superhero to the people around them. They kind of try to act like a superhero and try to solve some of the same problems that a superhero would try to solve. And it just seems to be the quick and the easy fix. And I don't have to tell you that most of life is not really quick and easy fixes. And if somebody's ever tried to do that for you, and they just try to swoop in and kind of be a superhero, and they think that it's quick and easy and they can solve your problem for you, you didn't probably appreciate it too much, right? It just seemed like they didn't really care about you. They cared about just being the hero, or being the superhero, you might say. And the thing is that the easier part of just wanting to swoop into somebody's life and to save them in their time of trouble, or just the quicker route of we don't really need to know their story, we don't need to know their messiness, we don't need to know, what's going on in their life. And really the idea of being less painful sort of shows up, right? If you're being helped by somebody and you can tell that they don't really want to get involved because it's going to inconvenience them, it's going to change their plan or change their agenda, or it's going to be a minor adjustment for them, it's really not going to really be surrendering their plan and their agenda and their control. And I would suggest to you that really in some ways all of us want to be a superhero. We all have that kind of tendency to want to be a superhero in this situation, which again isn't necessarily bad, but I would suggest to you it is incomplete. And my favorite superhero is Superman, in which for some of you might tell you all you need to know whether you like me or dislike me. And to be honest, I'm not really into the comic books as much as I've seen a lot of the movies, the Superman movies along the way. And part of the thing is, who wouldn't want to fly in my mind, right? Who wouldn't want to fly? Who wouldn't want to be faster than a speeding bullet? Who wouldn't want to be more powerful than a locomotive? Who wouldn't want to jump over buildings in a single bound? And especially if you can do that and rescue somebody along the way, it seems like a good trade-off, right? And along the way, you also get all the attention, right? And all the glory and the fame along the way. So which superhero or athlete or celebrity have you ever thought about wanting to be or become, and maybe use that in good intentions, use that fame, use their status, use their resources to help other people? I think part of the reason we want to be a superhero is we really do want to kind of swoop in a time of need, because really that's so much easier than being with someone before and after they actually need you. You want to know the exact time that they need you and just help them right then, right? The other stuff is kind of just, it's just more difficulty, more stress. And I think some of us, we really want to rescue people like a superhero from big problems. We don't want to kind of mess around with the constant, simple, small problems that just really fills up life for many of us. And I think also if many of us, if we're being honest, I think maybe even all of us, we want some amount of recognition or fame for rescuing and saving someone. We want to kind of have that attention focused on us, because maybe it's the same attention that you've seen in superhero movies or comic books or whatever. But the problem is that many of us, in fact, I would suggest probably all of us, or most of us, don't have many of these opportunities to actually be a superhero or even a real life hero. But I would say that all of us have an opportunity to help people around us. And as we look forward to 2020, I would ask you, what are you hoping for? Are you hoping to maybe be a superhero this year? Are you hoping that 2020 gives you that opportunity to be a hero in someone's life? And I would suggest that's not necessarily a bad thing. But I would push you a little bit in saying, are you willing to be more than a superhero? Are you willing to do what it takes to actually be there for somebody, much more than just a superhero in the instant and the moment that someone needs you? Because as we're going to see kind of from Jesus' teaching, if you're hoping to help someone who has an addiction, or you're hoping to help someone who has a broken marriage, or you're wanting to help someone who wants to become a better parent, or who has low self-esteem, or somebody who wants to know Jesus for the first time, who doesn't even know who Jesus is or his love for them, if you're going to do that, then it's going to require much more than simply the ease of swooping in and saving someone in their moment of need. It's going to require much more than just the quickness of not needing to know their story and their messiness and their history and all that. It's going to require, and it's going to be much more painful than the ease and the comfort and the quickness of that. Because you won't always be able to keep your plans and your agendas. You won't always be able to keep control. In fact, I would say probably never will you be able to keep control and be this kind of a friend and be this kind of a Jesus follower in someone's life. Being a superhero, you can kind of make some minor adjustments. But if you want to be the kind of friend that Jesus talks about, if you want to be the follower of his that he talks about, it's going to cost you much more than that. So we're going to look at a rather significant passage and teaching of Jesus's that maybe you've heard about, but basically he's going to talk about what it means to follow Jesus. And specifically, he's kind of challenging a large crowds that were around him. Basically, almost everywhere Jesus went, he had a large crowd. And he's kind of challenging them that if they want to follow him and really follow him, there's going to be a cost involved. And what is that cost to actually following him? We're going to be in Luke chapter 14 if you want to follow along. You can also follow along in the Bible app. If you want to go to the Bible app, click on the bottom right corner and click events. And then you can find our church there if you're in the area. If you're not in the area, you can search New Life Cupertino, and I think it'll come up. But our notes and verses will be there as well. So Luke chapter 14, verse 25. Again, Jesus is talking to a large crowd, and he's kind of telling them what it means to actually follow him. Verse 25, it says, a large crowd was following Jesus. He turned around and said to them, if you want to be my disciple, you must by comparison hate everyone else. Your father and your mother, your wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even your own life. Otherwise, you cannot be my disciple. This verse can be greatly misunderstood. I probably don't need to say that much more. But looking at the other teachings of Jesus and kind of putting this in context of the whole of Jesus' teaching, it's kind of obvious that he doesn't want us to hate anyone. That was not the purpose of what Jesus was saying. But this translation kind of gives it to us in a helpful way, and basically saying that when you look at how you treat Jesus and how you view Jesus, whether you put him as a top priority or not, it will seem like, if you do, it will seem like almost as if you hate everyone else, because in comparison, you love Jesus so much that he's the top priority above anyone else. The thing about that is that if you put Jesus as the top priority, he wants you to value other people. He wants you to love other people and put them even above yourself and your own needs. And what other people think of you, if you're a follower of Jesus, cannot control you. What other people think of you cannot control you if you are following Jesus. And this kind of goes to the right of the heart of some of our desires and why some of us want to be a superhero. It's recognition. Because we have to be willing to give that up and give up our life, our plans, our fame, our recognition up for Jesus and following him. And the work that Jesus wants us to do might never bring you the recognition that you want from being a superhero. And this next verse that we're going to look at is it's just so easy for us modern people, and modern Christians specifically, but modern people in general, to just overlook. And I don't think I could spend enough time emphasizing or overemphasizing the importance of this verse and the significance of this verse. But here's what Jesus says next. And if you do not carry your own cross and follow me, you cannot be my disciple. And the whole idea of carrying your own cross, it's just kind of a phrase that, in modern day, we have phrases that are sort of similar to this, where visually and emotionally and mentally it just sort of brings a picture to mind. And in Jesus' day, this idea of carrying a cross would have done just that visually. And the sound and the visual and the reminder of the pain and the agony and the torment that would have happened maybe over many hours or maybe over many days. And it just would have brought that to mind. And carrying a cross was not just a quick burst of pain. It wouldn't have fit in the length of a movie, and it impacted families for years. And sometimes it impacted generations. Carrying a cross would impact many people over many years. And so as we wrap up one year and start a new year, have you thought about in general how your decisions might impact those around you? For years to come, maybe even. But specifically, as we kind of talk about this idea of helping other people and what you might have for your goals and your agendas for this next year, have you thought about how your decisions to help or your decision not to help other people might impact generations to come, maybe even generations that aren't born yet? And that carrying a cross, as Jesus talked about, was something that he came into this life knowing was going to happen to him. And so kind of at a very minimum, Jesus knew for about 30 years that this pain, this torment, this agony was his destiny. And it's probably likely, we don't know for sure, that the Romans crucified someone during Jesus' time growing up. And he probably saw this happening, knowing this was going to be his fate, and he was going to suffer in the same way. And with Jesus knowing all of this, he still chose to come to earth to rescue the world, not from Rome, which was their big enemy at the time, not from their problems, not from their circumstances, whatever the big things those might be. But Jesus came to rescue them from a much bigger problem, their sin and themselves, our sin and ourselves. And Jesus came to rescue it. And it was a problem that we can't fix, they couldn't fix, and it would cost him much more than just a few moments, much more than a few dollars, much more than a few inconveniences. And if you're going to help someone, it'll probably cost you much more as well. Verse 28, but don't begin until you count the cost, Jesus says. Don't follow him, or don't think about following him as a disciple until you count the cost. For who would begin construction of a building without first calculating the cost to see if there's enough money to finish it? Otherwise, you might complete only the foundation before running out of money. And then everyone would laugh at you. They would say, there's the person who started the building and couldn't afford to finish it. Verse 31, or what king would go to war against another king without first sitting down with his counselors to discuss whether his army of 10,000 could defeat the 20,000 soldiers marching against him? And if he can't, he will send a delegation to discuss terms of peace while the enemy is still far away. So you cannot become my disciple without giving up everything you own. So the question is, are you willing to give up everything to follow Jesus? And to be honest, that's a pretty offensive question, kind of in your face kind of question. Are you willing to give up everything right now to follow Jesus? And the good news is that you're not yet. That's okay. This is a journey, and that maybe along the way you will be able to say, yes, I'm willing to give up everything. And if you're not right now, we hope you continue to follow along with us, and we hope you stay engaged with Jesus. But for those of us who are kind of close to that, and we feel like maybe that we should be, this is going to require a lot of giving up everything. And particularly for some of us who we want to be a superhero, we want to do great things, we have these great desires. Are you willing to be more than a superhero in someone's life? Are you willing to give up what it might cost to be more than just a superhero? Are you willing to go through the messiness of people's lives to really make a difference in their lives? Are you willing to spend your time and your energy and your resources to be in someone's life for weeks, months, maybe even years? Because if you're going to make a difference in people's lives, it usually takes seasons. It usually takes time. It doesn't just happen quickly. I think we would all like to be a superhero at times, right? I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. We'd like to swoop down and rescue someone and then sort of be recognized as the person who solved the problem. And there might be moments like that to be a hero, maybe. But more than likely, I would suggest to you that to be Jesus' follower, he wants you just to be in people's lives for a while. And it might not be quick. So when you think about the people around you, how would they describe you again? Would they describe you as somebody who just likes to swoop down and kind of get the recognition and, say they rescued someone? Or are you a person who's with their friends and who's with people through thick and through thin, through a season, through a time, and that you're with people through the difficult things, not just the recognition of solving the problem? So I just want to wrap up with 3 quick things that I think are kind of important, that if you want to be with people and be Jesus' follower, be Jesus in people's life, these are important things. The first one is endurance. And it sounds sort of simple in some regards, but it just takes time. And I would suggest to you that in our current day and age of instant gratification and satisfaction, we have to kind of constantly push back on the idea that this is intruding in every area of our life, including how we help people. That many times we want to help people and see the results right away. But anytime you help people, it rarely involves just quickness and instant, but it almost always requires endurance. And this isn't just a millennial or generation kind of thing, younger generation thing. This is also for those of you who are a little bit older. I've seen this in all people, that we have this impatience about us, that we want to see things happen instantly, particularly around people and with our relationships. And if you want to be Jesus in people's life, it's going to take endurance. And Jesus showed us that. He lived here 33 years when he could have just done it maybe in an instant. And he chose to live and experience life like us. The second thing is, I think it takes preparation. That if you aren't ready when the opportunity comes, when the person comes to your door and the person texts you or calls you or emails you, you might miss the opportunity. Or worse yet, you might make the problem or the situation worse for them if you aren't ready. And there's a sense in which we have to sort of be prepared for these moments to happen. And we don't know when they will happen. But if we're not prepared, we might miss the opportunity. And last but not least, the good news about this idea of helping people is kind of contrary to being a superhero, where superheroes kind of have to do things on their own. We have the help of God with us. That if you're a follower of Jesus, Jesus said that when I leave this earth, I'm going to give you a helper. And so if you're trying to follow Jesus and be Jesus in people's lives, you don't have to do it alone. In fact, you really can't do it alone. That God has given you a helper in the Holy Spirit, God's Spirit, to help you know what to say, when to say it, how to stick through, and have the strength to stick through the difficult and trying times when you want to just give up and say, this isn't working. That God's help is with you and he can help you through these things. So are you willing to stick through with people? Are you willing to be with people and love people, even though it takes longer than you'd like, and it requires more effort and energy? It's not as easy as you hope. Because if you are, Jesus might be able to use you in 2020. He might be able to use you in 2021 and beyond to help people to really make a difference in people's lives. But it might not be like a superhero. It might not be easy, and it might not be quick, and it probably will be a lot more painful than that. But it can make a difference in people's lives, just like Jesus did for us. Thanks for watching this video. Thanks for joining us for this online service. I just want to let you know a few things about our church and some things coming up with our church, a few announcement things. Just a reminder that next Sunday, January 5th, we're going to resume our normal Sunday schedule starting at 10:30 in the morning. And we'd love for you to join us on our campus. You'll see the address and some directions and things on our website. Feel free to go there, and we'd love to see you. We're going to start a brand new series called Better, and it'll be talking about how to make the next year better than the previous year. And I think all of us would say we want 2020 to be better than 2019, and we want to be better people than we were when we were younger. And this is going to be a little bit of a series. It's going to require some honest evaluation and some a little bit awkward feedback sometimes from ourselves, but we think it can be better. So watch this video, a little preview of what we'll be talking about starting January 5th.
Hi, Mom.
Ready?
Hey!
One other thing I wanted to let you know about is that we are also starting a 21 days of prayer starting January 1st, and we'd love for you to join us. If you go to the website on the screen, you'll see some ways to sign up for text or email reminders and also get a prayer guide that we'll kind of be walking through. Basically, through these 21 days, we're going to kind of focus on praying for our community, praying for others, and praying for our church in the year ahead. And so we want to help you in that. And if you're interested at all in joining us, we'd love for you to join us. Even if you haven't prayed in a long time or you pray every day, that's okay. We think this is a journey that we can all go on together. So we'd love for you to join us on that. And then last but not least, basically just if you want to continue to look around our website, nlnc.org or welovecupertino.org, we'd love for you to check out our church, maybe plan your visit or look at some things about our church, the overview of our church and what our time will be together. We try to be a very simple church that is welcoming to anybody. And so no matter where you might be in your spiritual journey, we hope that we can help you in that journey. So we'd love for you to join us. Again, reminder, next Sunday we'll be continuing our normal programming at 10:30 on January 5th and with our kids and our elementary and preschool program, but also with our normal Sunday service for adults as well. And so we'd love for you to join us. Thanks so much for joining us. We hope you have a great new year. Happy 2020. And we look forward to seeing you again soon.